Yo, 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 it's the one and only Lise.
And it's your girl Vels, a.k.a. Velly Vel, if that's what you want to call me.
And together we are
Locked in Sports. What's up, Lise? We back with another special episode, Locked in Sports Coaches Edition.
Yep.
And today we have a special guest with us. Some of you guys may know him, some of you may not. But here we have today with us Joe Looney.
We out here.
Man, welcome to the show, Joe. First of all, we want to just say appreciate you for coming on, taking time out of your busy schedule to come on and do this interview with us. We're going to go ahead and jump right into it.
All right, let's do it.
First of all, just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, give us a little bit of background, a little bit of bio on, who Joe Looney is and just kind of how you got here.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
No
but yeah, originally born and raised in South Florida.
Okay.
My mom and dad met down there. My dad's, long hair white boy from Kentucky. And then my mom's family is all from the Bahamas.
Okay.
And, they met one night in a club and then, couple years later, 4 kids.
Yeah.
So, I got 3 siblings and a little bit about myself. One thing I've always grew up with is football. Football has been a huge part of my life. My dad played and, when my mom had me, he named me after a football player that went to Oklahoma University, Joe Looney.
Okay.
So, apparently this is how the story went. My mom said, when I first came out, she was like, oh yeah, my dad said this one's going to be an NFL player. So, hey, Pop spoke it into existence.
They did.
But, we grew up, man. I tell you what, we had a decent sized house down there and I loved it because it really, we had to do life, as a family. So I was really thankful for that. And, going into high school, I had a plan because my mom and dad, they were blue collar workers. They're, electrician, teachers. So I didn't have a college fund set up for me. So my mom and dad always used to tell us, hey, you guys got to go on an athletic scholarship.
Right.
And football was one of the things I did. My dad was my coach growing up in Little League football. And, you would think, your father would put you at quarterback, right?
Right.
My man looked at me and was like, you know what? You're going to be my center.
Okay.
So I've always played, offensive line, defensive line. But he was my coach growing up, me and my brother. And football has just been a huge part of our family.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for it because, growing up with not a lot of means, it really is truly amazing to be able to go to Wake Forest and then, get that caliber of education.
Right.
And then go and fulfill my dream of playing in the NFL. And there was a lot of, ups and downs in that road.
Yeah.
One of the things when I got drafted, a lot of people don't know, I played in the Senior Bowl.
Okay.
And you guys, that's, for the best, college athletes coming out into the draft.
Right.
And while I was there, I broke my foot. So I was thinking, I'll be fine. I just had a little ankle sprain and whatnot. Went to the doctor out there, and the doctor, man, I tell you what, ruthless to me. Like, man, what? No, you got to have surgery. And going into this, the NFL combine's coming up, and I'm just sitting there, everything I've trained for is just, it's right there in front of me, and I can't quite touch it.
Right.
Yeah.
But another thing about me that I absolutely love sharing with people is that my mom and dad always had us, in church.
Yeah.
And it's always been my foundation, that foundation of Jesus Christ. Haven't always, been the best and, always been on board with it.
Right.
Especially early on in my life. My faith was, kind of like that rabbit's foot, that good luck, card you pull out.
Yeah.
God help us win this game, please.
Right.
And I'm going to be on board with you, dude. But, growing up and learning, how faith works, it's really helped me. And that's what I'm trying to do now is let people know, like, hey, look, I don't know your plan. I don't know what's going to happen, but boy, we got an author to this thing. And, I try to let everybody know, follow his wisdom and you'll be good to go in this thing we call life.
Yeah, no, I feel that. And you spoke on like the combine. So were you weren't able to participate in the combine.
No, so the only thing I was able to do was the 225 bench press.
Okay.
And at the time, I had a boot on my foot and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I had crutches, but monster, I've hopped up the stairs on one foot and then bench press.
Yeah,
and then
determined.
That was, yeah. Oh yeah. But that was all I was able to do. I did do the interviews.
Okay.
And whatnot, which were a interesting process.
Yeah, tell us about that, because I always wanted to know about how those interviews
so
were.
I mean, as the player, you get a list of teams that want to talk to you.
Right.
And it's, kind of like hotel rooms. You playing musical chairs. You're going in, here's the Cincinnati Bengals. Here's the Pittsburgh Steelers, the New York Jets. And you going and, you're talking to their head coaches, staff, doctors.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting process. But I got drafted by the San Francisco 49ers.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And going into that interview, Coach Harbaugh, he sits me down, he looks at me, he's like, you know what, we're going to role play a little bit. Right. And this is how these go, they're an interesting process. He's like, yeah, we're going to role play a little bit. I'm a student athlete. Get me to come to Wake Forest University.
Okay.
And, my pitch is like, hey, look, you can go anywhere in the country. They're going to have great facilities. They're going to have, wonderful athletics. But it's about the people you're going to be around.
Exactly.
You want to build relationships with good people. So that's why you should come to Wake Forest. And I think it helped me out a little bit because they ended up drafting me.
There you go.
Yeah.
So what's one of the weirdest or off the wall questions that they've asked? I've heard all kind of weird stuff. So
I think one of the weirdest. So one of the weirdest processes I had. I was in there with the Cincinnati Bengals, and the team psychologist is in there, and you walk in, and they put like a chair in the middle of the room, so you're spotlighted. And he sits there and he asks me, he's like, okay, I got a couple of words for you to remember. All right, remember these words.
Okay.
And he told me the words, and we go through a 30-minute interview, talking about football, getting up on the board, drawing plays.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, what were those words again? And I'm like, man, I do not know. In front of all these coaches, I'm like, man, I do not remember those words.
Clue.
Dog, apple.
Right. Somebody they try to test your memory.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Okay.
But the NFL it's a business, and I think that's a lot of the side that fans don't see, that people who love it don't see. It is a business first, and as an athlete, you see that. You see that because you deal with contracts and getting in there and negotiating, and it's a business at the end of the day. While you're having fun,
right?
But to the athletes, it's our job. It was my job at the time.
Right.
Yeah, big teacher coach action now.
No, I know that's right.
So you mentioned that you got drafted by the 49ers. Kind of take us into when you got that phone call.
Okay.
How it was actually being drafted, because you got drafted in the 4th round, right?
Yes, correct.
So tell us what it was like to get that phone call, and that, was it a relief? How did you feel? Were you with your family? Like, how was it?
Okay, I got you. Yeah, so that day, like I said, I was hurt. So I was still in my boot, sitting on the couch and whatnot. And at this time, I got a bunch of thoughts in my head thinking maybe I'm not going to get drafted. Maybe this wasn't the route God had for me.
Right.
And it was tough dealing with those emotions. But the overall process, it was a very intimate moment. It was just my mom, my dad, my brothers and sisters.
Okay.
And one of my cousins who's actually entering into the NFL draft this upcoming year.
Oh, that's okay.
And we're all sitting there, and I'm sitting in the little rocking chair. And after a while, my mom and dad, they got up and kind of went outside just to get some of those emotions off. Because it is a stressful process, sitting there, waiting for your name to be called. And then I just remember, man, I get a call from the Bay Area, and I'm like, California.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and answer that.
I might even get that. Yeah.
And so I answer the phone, and Coach Harbaugh's on the phone. He's like, hey, Joe Looney, how's it going? This is Jim Harbaugh, head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. And, we're going to take you with this next pick. How does that make you feel? Man, coach, ecstatic, man. I ain't got no words for it. And my brother's sitting there, and my brother kind of freaked out. And he was still young. He's 9th grade, high school, and he's freaking out. Mom, Dad, Joe's getting drafted. And then my dad, like I said, he's from Kentucky, and my dad is a hoot. If y'all ever get to meet my dad, y'all need to have him on the show. He's a coach too. He is a hoot. But he has this thing called the Kentucky Scream.
Okay.
And he comes in, woo, woo.
Yeah, he was excited.
And man, And Coach Harbaugh said, he's like, oh, you got some people who are excited back there. And I'm like, yeah, Coach, we've been waiting for this. And
that's good.
Yeah, it was a very intimate moment, just us. And it was a nice time. It was a nice time.
Oh, that's good.
Uh-huh.
That's good.
So was there a specific team that you wanted to get drafted to? Or?
See, now I can say this.
Yeah, you can say it now. You can say it now.
So I grew up a Miami Dolphin fan.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up a Miami Dolphin fan.
From Florida, makes sense.
From Florida, South Florida.
Dan Marino.
Dan Marino, there it is. Let's go. Take it out to old school, man. I used to like their jerseys too.
They had the best jerseys.
Their old school jerseys
outside
were so
the Cowboys,
sweet.
but yeah.
There we go. Yes, man. Come on, Jerry. Jerry paid the bills for some years.
Right, I know that's right.
Hey, we got to give him his due. But yeah, man, I would have loved to play for the Miami Dolphins. My mom grew up a Dolphin. My mom was a Dolphin fan, and I think that's why I adopted it. So it was, it would have been great to have been drafted by them.
Oh, that's cool. So you get drafted, right? You're playing for the 49ers. It's a big adjustment from going from college to NFL, professional football.
Oh, yeah.
How was it adjusting to the NFL
After
your injury?
Yeah, it was tough because I didn't go in. I couldn't play right away. I was doing rehab. So I had a lot of self-doubt at the time. It was like, is this really for me? Am I going to be able to do this? And one of the things I like to tell people now, it's not, making it to the NFL is a feat. Right. It's tough, but staying is the hard part. Because, I walked in there and I'm a rookie. I ain't got no family at the time, but this guy's out here, wife, kids, they ain't playing, man. They trying to feed their families. It is a business. It is a job.
Right.
So it was definitely a big adjustment coming in. You got no school. You're all at work. But thankfully, I had guys, the left tackle who was there at the time, his name was Joe Staley.
Okay.
And really taught me how to be a pro. Taught me how to be a pro, a student of the game. And, you guys know, being athletes, you don't know how to take care of your body and stuff like that. It's like, hey, man, get in this cold tub, put on the Normatec boots. That is the huge part of, adjusting to the game, making sure that you stay in it.
Yeah.
Definitely. You're supposed to.
Oh, I mean,
No,
I mean, because I'm just listening.
I get it.
So, but, so you played with San Francisco for about 2 years?
Yeah, 3 years.
3 years. 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Then you signed with the Cowboys in 2016.
So I signed with the Cowboys. Yeah, I signed with the Cowboys in 2016, but I got cut. From San Francisco.
Okay.
And was that 2015 and then got picked up in October. And that was an interesting process too at the time because when I got cut, I was starting. I was a starting center.
Okay.
And, I was really, I was like, man, I'm the dude out here.
You didn't think you were going anywhere.
I didn't think I was going anywhere.
Right.
And just like I said, man, the business aspect of it. And, at the time, I was a young kid and I got married, jumped into a marriage. I had a little girl. My son was on the way. So I was sitting there, man, and I was like, I don't have a job. It was an interesting process because I played football. I missed a game or anything, since I was 4 years old when I started playing ball.
Yeah.
And so being without football in the fall, it was an eye-opening experience. But I think that was one of the things in my life that it taught me a lot. It taught me that, if you put your occupation, what you do, your job above your faith, then God, God don't want that. He wants to be first.
Right.
And it really taught me that, hey, God has to be first in your life.
Period.
Yeah.
You can sit here and say it.
Right.
It's easy to say,
Yeah.
but you have to start showing the actions after a while. It's almost like, I would compare it to, being a spiritual teenager.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, I ain't got to do all that, man. Yeah, we good, man. I'm taking care of what I need to take care of.
Right.
And, it's just like, but he's like, hey, look, there's a bigger purpose to this thing. It's not just you being an NFL player. There's a bigger purpose to what I'm trying to do through you.
Yeah. So, because that makes me think, like, you get cut and you have a growing family. You're married at this time. So how did you want to stay with it? Because when something like that happens to you and then you're married, got a baby and another baby on the way, what makes you want to keep fighting to get on another team or, with your mind? How do you keep your mind straight? Is it just having the faith in God, or
that's definitely a big part of it.
Yeah.
And I just think something that kept my mind in is that was all I had at the time. You know, I mean, what else am I going to do? There was just I was a football player.
Yeah.
And going through that process, you have teams that try to pick you up and you go for workouts. And immediately when I got cut, I was going to workouts. Going to teams, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be an easy process. I'll get picked up real quick. We'll be back playing in no time.
Right.
But it wasn't like that. 6 weeks go by, and I'm like, 6 weeks, and I had 5 workouts with different teams, and these workouts they're intense. They are intense. It's almost like they're taking you through a training camp practice, and going through that. So I would say I was still relying on myself.
Okay.
It was a learning process. I was relying on myself. And meanwhile, God's sitting there like, no, rely on me. And finally, I came to the realization like, hey, look, God, you know what? You can have it all. Take it. You have all of this. Just take care of my family. Now you can have football, because I think when you have something in your life that you're so comfortable with, and you just like, it's like that nice blanket, you cozy up in. It's like, this is mine. Nobody can take this away. And God was trying to strip that from me at that time in my life to let me know like, hey, look, I got this, man. Just trust me. And the next week, Tennessee called me. I got picked up and was starting. I started the whole season, the rest of the season. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened with Tennessee that, you only played a season or two with Tennessee?
Yeah, one season.
One season. So what happened there?
So they already had a center at the time under contract. They paid him a bunch of money, for a couple of years. And once he broke his ankle, so he was coming back the next year. So they didn't really need me. And at this time, I was still a journeyman in what I would say in the NFL. I was kind of that guy who could play multiple positions, which really kept me in the league. Right. It really kept me playing football. And they already had a guy, and the Cowboys, called me, bought me out for a visit, and was like, hey, we need that backup center, backup guard, and locked me into that role.
Man. And then that's my favorite part, because we die hard Cowboy fans. That's we bleed the blue and the silver. We bleed it. You cut us. It's just running out.
Look, in Texas here, hey, you got to be like that. But one thing about Cowboys, the Cowboys fans? It's either you are all in or not. There are no.
That's true.
You don't ever hear somebody say, "Oh yeah, I like them."
Yeah,
it's either like, "Yeah, I love them," or "No, we don't."
Right, that is true.
They tell you some good Christian words.
Right, they sure will.
Some good Christian words about it.
So you're playing for the Cowboys, right? So what was it like, for one, playing for the Cowboys, and then also like, was there any pressure being on America's team, having to perform? All that pressure every week to win or lose. Everybody's watching you. Everybody's talking about you, whether it's good or bad. Like, what was it like?
It was a wonderful experience.
Okay.
I think playing the game, you definitely get those nerves. We would call them butterflies. People like to throw around that anxiety word, but I like to say butterflies. It's just natural to kind of have that. It's like, you get nervous, and I hate comparing football to like military, but it's like when you've been in training, you've done something for so long, over and over, you've repped it over and over again. You kind of step on that field, and you put on blinders. It's like a horse at the Kentucky Derby.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like, okay, I'm locked in. I know what I have to do. I've trained. I've been in this situation before.
Right.
And hats off to Coach Garrett. Coach Garrett was one of the. He was one of the best coaches I've had throughout my career. Yeah,
you know what? I got a question for that.
Okay.
Mr. Clapper. The Clapper himself. Coach
I loved it, man. And and being a coach now, I take a lot of the things I saw him do and bring it into, my coaching, because football, you break football down. It's a game of situations, and that's what he was about. Hey, you're going to be in this situation like, hey, look, we're out at practice. All right, hold on, guys. We're going to go into a 2-minute drill. Here's the situation. There's a minute and 20 seconds left on the clock. We're down by 6 points. One timeout. Go play.
Yeah.
And so, you're already there. By the time you get to the game on Sunday, it's like, man, I've been here. You tighten your tie, and you're like, man, let's go.
Okay, well, that's
So he instilled that swagger?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wondered, because like I said, Mr. Clapper, he just always, no matter what, he's just...
Yeah,
You fumble the ball. I mean, it used to piss me off. But obviously, so he never lost the locker room at all?
No, he was one of those guys, and I think it was great for the NFL. You just got to have that even keel.
Yeah.
You can't get too high, and you can't get too low. You got to kind of stay flying under that radar in between there somewhere.
Okay.
And he was great at it. But, he was also, what people see on the media.
Yeah.
In the media is not really what's portrayed.
So was he really cussing y'all ass out?
I mean, hey, just like I said, he knew some nice Christian words too for us when we needed it.
Right.
That is
But for the most part, at that level, if you're a player, you don't need motivation from even when I would mess up, it's like, I don't need anybody to tell me I messed up. I know right now that I messed up.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's, when you're playing at that level and you're trying to win a Super Bowl. You're trying to, at the highest level, you're trying to do it.
Right.
Every man in that locker room has to be accountable for that. And you don't want to be the guy in the locker room that somehow messes that up.
Yeah.
It's like, because, guys have worked their whole lives to get to this moment, be able to have the opportunity to step on an NFL field and just to say I played, but to collectively come together and win it as a group, that's hard. That's hard to do.
Right.
And you start understanding that as a player, and it's like, man, I have to be accountable. I have to be, my own worst critic.
Right.
So I'm accountable to these other guys in the locker room.
That's dope.
So, speaking of locker room, take us into the locker room on game day. What is it like before the game starts? And then, how is it either after a win or after a loss?
Okay.
Especially those tough losses. When we lose to somebody like in a division or something like that. How was it on game day?
So game day, the feeling on game day is great.
Yeah.
You get to the locker room and it really is kind of a laid back kind of, everybody has their own little routine that they do.
Right.
Some guys will go and eat, some guys will go sit in the hot tub, guys will put on headphones and lay down and just kind of chill.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see the process that everybody had. So everybody kind of had their own routine.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's what they did. But when about 90 minutes before that game started, we had this big boom box in there.
Okay.
Big boom box.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, somebody will get on the mic, and I tried to be a DJ, back in the day. My other career, so I would get on there, man. Play some EDM, some rap. Help everybody, get ready to go, get their mind ready to play. But right before the game, right after warm-ups, you come back in, and you can hear a pin drop in the locker room. You can hear a pin drop in there. Everybody, you are locked in, ready to go.
No pun intended.
Yeah, locked in. Boom, I told you this. Yes, sir. But I guess I'll give you guys the veggies first. After a loss, it's tough, because Jerry coming there and you look at him in the eye, it's like, man, this dude's expecting more than us. Our coaches expecting more from us, so it's tough.
Yeah,
it's hard after a loss, but man, after a win,
it's a party.
Oh my gosh, those 10 minutes in the locker room, because after the first 10 minutes, the media can't be in there. Okay. It's just us. It's just the team. Yeah. And boy, man, we're in there having a talk.
I bet.
Yeah, that feeling is just great. And I think that's the feeling, I want my athletes to feel, it's like that 10 minutes when you're, celebrating on the field. Like we had a game, I'm gonna go off on my little tangents, but we had a freshman football game that we played right out here. And it was, it was great to see the guys win. Yeah. It was great to see them win and, to see them have that camaraderie to collectively do something. It's like, that's what I want you guys to feel, man. That's what it is.
That brotherhood.
That's why we play the game.
Almost bring tears to y'all.
I tell you what, I know, and it's even more intense as a coach because you're sitting there and you get to watch it. We enjoy it as coaches. I'd be lying to you if I sit here and say, I don't want to win. If I don't have an ego to want to win.
Right.
But sitting there looking at it, it's just like, man, you're so happy for the guys because, man, you know how hard they work. you know how hard they work now. So
That's cool.
I feel that. Coach Looney, you talked about Jerry Jones. Did you ever have like any interactions with him? And if so, like what were they? And is he as cool as the media makes him out to be?
Oh yeah, man. Jerry's one of the coolest cats you'd ever meet. Just like I said earlier in the show, the media portrays people, you know, the way they portray them.
Right.
I mean, if this is all they're going to show to the world, that's all they're going to show. But Jerry, man, besides, you know, being a very intelligent businessman, he's very personable, you know. I remember when I signed, he, you know, sent a care package to my house, you know, welcoming us to Dallas, and just, you know, really makes it feel like a home.
Yeah.
And I think out of all the teams I played for, that's why I love the Cowboys so much. It had that real, you know, family, you know, Southern hospitality, you know, deal in it. And, you know, I mean, everything's bigger in Texas too. So,
definitely.
you know, he was always in the locker room with us after the games and whatnot. Very uplifting too. You know, he doesn't, you know, beat you into the ground about, you know, if you're losing a game.
Oh, that's good. You kind of want that, you know, as far as an owner. You know, but a lot of people say he's too in front of the camera. Did y'all ever feel that way, that sometimes he maybe overshadowed the team? Just his big personality and his wanting to, you know, everyone wants to go talk to Jerry. Do you think that kind of like maybe overshadowed the team a little bit, or?
No, not really. I mean, just like I said, Jerry's a business guy.
Right.
And at the end of the day, his role is to make sure that there's people sitting in those seats to watch the football games.
Exactly.
And if there's people watching the football games, then we're benefiting from it also as players. You know, they're helping us, you know, get paid to do what we love to do. So definitely, you know, I don't think so. And he, you know, he's a business guy at the end of the day, and he knows how to, you know, operate that brand. You know, the Star is his brand.
Yes, it is.
And I think as a player, being a player, you see that and you're like, all right, well, I have to represent it the right way too.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't want anything to, you know, happen to this. I don't want to be the guy that, you know, does something to bring down the Star.
Right.
You know, we always had on the back of our shirts, you know, our practice shirts and whatnot that we work out in, it was always the Star and then our last name, because it always reminded us, hey, you know, it's the Star, it's the team before the individual.
Yeah.
Right.
And that makes sense.
Love that.
That makes sense.
I love that. So, of course, your career as a Cowboy came to an end.
Yes, it did.
And you ended up signing with the Giants, and but you didn't play for them.
No.
So is that kind of what drove you to be done with the game, or, you know, what kind of made you want to hang up your cleats?
So there were definitely a couple variables in there. The first one is I was all the way in New York. My wife was out here. My kids were out here. And it was just a real struggle. It was a real struggle. My son was starting his first football season. My daughter was starting her first soccer season. And I didn't want to be, you know, away from that. So that was the number one reason, you know, that came into my mind. I was like, I need to be home. You know, I've gave the game its due. I need to be home.
Right.
The second thing is, you know, just like we said earlier, I was not locked in.
Right.
You know, I wasn't as committed to the game, and I felt that when I was in the Giants locker room. It was almost like, okay, you know, I'm going to play another year, get year 10 under my belt, and that'll be it. And I just didn't want to cheat the guys. You know, I didn't want to cheat the game. So I was like, you know what, man, I'm going to go ahead and hang this up. But when I had that epiphany, I was in the middle of a practice. I was in the middle of a practice, and I was, you know, we're getting hit, and I'm like, man, I could just walk off the field right now, and this will be fine, and nobody will know. So I'm like, you know what? Nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to finish off. I'm going to give the game what it deserves.
Yeah. Right.
And a lot of people thought I retired because that day in practice, there was a big brawl. Two people got into a fight, and at the time, Coach Joe Judge would, you know, make the team run. And I had no problem. It's like, yeah, you know, if you're doing something wrong, here's your discipline. You go run.
Right.
And but I'm retiring.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sitting there like, Coach, I don't want to run a gasser. You know, I'm retired. Don't make me do it. But it was funny because I started my career. My dad had this thing in practice where every practice we'd start off, and in Little League, we were running around a baseball field. That's where we practiced. We practiced at a baseball field. So we had these laps that we'd have to run. And boy, I just remember I was like, man, you know, I started playing this game running, and I'm ending it running.
Came full circle, didn't it?
Came full circle. I'm like, man, they gonna get the game gonna get its worth out of me.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the couple variables. Definitely my family is what played the biggest role in it.
Yeah.
I wanted to be with them.
So it just wasn't fun anymore?
Yeah, it just I wasn't into the game anymore. It's just like I was just there, you know, to be a guy, and I didn't want that.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Definitely.
I can understand
Definitely. All right, so your career is over officially. You're out of the NFL. What made you want to start coaching?
Yeah, so I really wasn't thinking about it. It was kind of a thing that I fell into. After I retired, I took 7 months off.
Okay.
And about that third month, I started going stir crazy, and my wife was like, "You got to get out of the house.
Right.
You can't stay here with me anymore. You got to get out of the house. You gotta
Driving her crazy.
Driving her crazy. You got to go do something.
Go work out or something.
Baby, get away from me.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there, and I was doing these things for the Cowboys, and I got invited to speak at the Arlington ISD signing day for all the student athletes that were going to college.
Yeah.
And, I did the speech and whatnot, and it was wonderful. And Mr. Villarreal and Coach James approached me. They're like, "Hey, have you had any interest in coaching?" And I was like, "Yeah, I would like to give it a shot. I've never thought about it, but I'd give it a shot."
Yeah.
And came down here and was kind of doing some volunteer stuff, and I really fell in love with it. Just being around these young people. And I think that's when you realize in life that everything you've been through, all the experience you've been through, everything that you were crying and talking to God about, and the pain that you went through, it's kind of like, oh, all right, I see why I'm here to give this back to these young people so they can put life together where it works for them.
Yes.
And so I fell in love with it, and I didn't know you had to be a teacher to coach out here in Texas. I was like, I'm gonna have to be a teacher out here, And I ended up falling in love with that, being in the classroom.
Oh, that's what's good.
It's great. It's like, coming from football, I have a silent confidence about myself, and I like to perform. I'm a performer, that's what I do. When I'm in front of a crowd, I'm going to perform.
Right.
And being a teacher is kind of, you're the only one with the spotlight on you, and it's like all day, and it's just like, you kids can't go anywhere. You have to listen to me.
Right, commanding the room.
I'm the head coach, and y'all can't go nowhere.
Right.
And so I fell in love with it, fell in love with coaching, and it's been a wonderful way to give back that wisdom and knowledge that God has helped me get to this point in my life to give back to these kids.
Oh, that's good.
Cool. So now that you're in it, is there anybody that you would want to model your coaching after? Are there any books that you've read to kind of get you, started on your coaching journey?
One of the guys that I really love is Tony Dungy. One, because of his faith. He's huge into his faith. And I mean, the guy just loves football. He loves
He's a football
the game.
guy.
Yeah, he is a football guy.
Yes.
And one of the things I love about him is he talks about, in his books is, hey, you want to build something that you're just proud to be a part of, and that's you have to do that with individuals. You do that by bringing good individuals around you. And someday when I become a head coach, that's the thought that I keep in the forefront of my head.
Right.
It's like, hey, I got to have the right people around, to help me, get to where I want to go too, and to ultimately help these kids get to where they want to go.
Yes.
So yeah, Tony Dungy's my guy.
Dungy.
He's my dude.
Shout
out to you there.
Yeah, shout out to Tony Dungy. Nah, for real. He had a nice career in the NFL.
Yeah,
For sure. And that kind of brings me to my next question, really. So Deion Sanders has stated that he never wanted to coach in the NFL. And because he said he doesn't want to coach rich men, he'd rather coach and instill wisdom into the younger generation. How do you feel about that? Would you want to, right now you're coaching high school, would you want to take that next step and coach, professionally in the NFL?
Yeah, I think over time it'll show up.
Yeah.
For me right now, I'm all about my family time.
Right.
And the way high school coaching is set up is, it is very family friendly. And I love that.
Yes.
And I know what I can really, empathize with what Dion said, because you look at NFL coaches, and I mean, we had coaches that, we'd go home and show up, and these guys are, sleeping in their offices. I mean, they are all in it. You want to talk about people who are really sacrificing is the coaches in the NFL.
I believe that.
Their families, I mean, these guys are, going. They don't ever stop, and it's great to see that work ethic. I don't think I'm at the point yet to where it's like, all right, I can sacrifice that amount of time again,
right.
To be there. I definitely think the mindset's there.
Right.
As an athlete, the mindset's always there. You want to be the best.
Of course.
You want to, coach against the best, play against the best, and I just got to, get there in my career in coaching.
Yeah, absolutely.
You will.
Oh, appreciate that.
Will.
Thank you so much.
For sure.
Thank you.
Last question about.
I mean, and then just coming to Sam Houston. Well, how did you actually end up coaching here at Sam Houston becoming?
Yeah, so like I said, I did that Arlington ISD signing day speech and ended up coming down here, signed a contract to teach and coach.
Right.
And Sam really reminded me a lot of where I grew up.
Yeah.
To say the least, man, these kids down here, Coach, they've been dealt a really tough hand in life. And I think one of the things I saw is, and my high school coach used to tell me is like, hey, look, you've been dealt a rough hand, but you still got to play your cards.
Right.
You got to play your cards. And I think I wanted to come down here to let these kids know, hey, there's a way to, be successful. You don't have to, be like everybody else and what everybody else is doing.
Right.
And if you really want to become something in life, the opportunity is there.
Yeah.
You just have to work for it. You have to work for it. And I want to instill that hard work, that work ethic into them. So one day, when they have kids or coaching kids, that they can do the same.
For sure. Is that kind of like how you keep them engaged? Because I know, it's tough. You got the social media, it's all the distractions. So how do you keep them engaged in football and wanting to win, keeping the grades up so they can stay on the field and play? So what is that motivation? What do you tell your team?
I tell them, it's a process, and there are going to be ups and there's going to be downs. There's going to be, you're going to have success and you're going to have failures.
Right.
But within all the happy moments, hey, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy those happy moments. Definitely, you get to a place where you accomplish something. Hey, enjoy that. You win a football game or you get a PR on bench press.
Right.
Hey, you enjoy that time. And then, when you're in your lows, it's like, hey, you learn from that pain. There's a process that goes through this. It's never as bad as it seems. It's never as good as it seems.
Right.
And I think that's how I keep them, motivated and, hey guys, look, you're going to have your ups and you're going to have your downs. I know that.
Right.
You should know that.
Yeah.
And, it's just like, hey, finding ways to, all right, you're in a hole right now. Hey, come on, let's get up on up out of this,
Right.
Complaining and just, not having a plan to get out of it is, what really hurts people. And that's what I'm trying to, teach them.
No, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Just to mention, you even worked with the volleyball team this year in strength and conditioning, and just to see how you motivated those girls, who are complainers and sometimes don't want to work hard.
Women always be complaining, don't they?
You kind of notice them looking forward to coming and working out with you, and that just kind of let me know, like, he has it. You have that motivation factor. Your energy is high. I love being around you as a coach. Just like as a co-coach or whatever. But going back to football, though, one more question about football.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you have a son, and that he does play football.
Yes, he does.
Given the CTE allegations, are you ever worried as a parent, stepping out of that coaching role, stepping out of the football player role, are you ever worried as a parent when it comes to your son playing football? I
think the answer to the simple question is definitely yes.
Okay.
Definitely yes. Football is a contact sport. It's modern day gladiators.
Yeah.
If
we like to use the word barbaric.
Yeah, it really, it is a contact sport, and it's not for the faint-hearted.
Right.
And I think one of the things that comes along with it is you you educate the kids about, what they're doing, but more so the techniques that are being taught at the young age, those have to go up through the older age, just making sure, hey, something my dad always used to say, hey, see what you hit. You never duck your head on the football field because that's where you see the concussions and whatnot. You see what you hit.
Yeah.
So making sure, especially my son, making sure like he knows the fundamentals and techniques to keep him from, experiencing those. And I was blessed in my career. I never experienced a concussion.
Amen.
So I was definitely blessed, but I've seen it happen to people.
Right.
And you talk to them and it's a scary situation.
Yeah.
But I think as a competitor, what comes along with that.
Right.
And you just try to go out there and perform to the best of your abilities.
Yeah.
Cool.
I agree with that.
Well, I think we've hit all the, NFL questions. We've hit all the coaching questions. We kind of wanted to get into a couple of fun questions, and then we'll let you go.
All right.
Lisa, you want to go ahead and...
So we Cowboys fans again. We got seasons around the corner. And you've played with them, obviously. So... And do you keep up? Do you still watch football and all that stuff? Okay,
definitely a fan of the game.
What do the Cowboys need to do to get over this hump? This hump that we've been trying to get over since '95.
Hey, come on now.
What do we got to do? I mean, sheesh.
Hey, man, I tell you what, we need to all start praying, man.
We done that. I went to church, went before the throne,
but I tell you what, the NFL season, it's like playing dice.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so competitive and so hard. A lot of people like to say, fans like to say, oh, well, this team is bad and that team is bad. Let me tell you something. There ain't no team in the NFL that is bad.
No,
right. Everybody on those rosters are very good.
Yes.
And but Dak's one of my good buddies, and I mean, you want to talk about if you want somebody to lead your team, that's the guy you want leading your team.
Yeah.
His work ethic is unmatched and just even a better person, and that's why I love Dak so much, man. It's like, man, this dude he's a good dude. And I think in our society, you want to get behind people like that.
Yeah.
You root for people like that.
Oh, for sure.
And if you want somebody leading your team, he's definitely it. So I think, if Dak's on that field for the Cowboys, he's definitely giving a shot to win every Sunday.
Okay.
I hope so.
See, a lot of people have jumped off the Dak bandwagon. I'm treading the line.
Teetering.
But I do believe he'll get us to the promise.
Hey, come on now.
I do believe.
Come on, for.
I mean,
Get us in here. That's the Holy Ghost up here.
Right. Watch out there now.
So another fun question for you. Musically, who is it that when you put your AirPods in, or when you're taking that long drive home, from Sam, you won't be anymore. But when you driving to the house from Sam, who are you listening to on your radio, or who are you listening to in your AirPods?
Yeah, so I love music. I listen to a little bit of everything, but I do love, man, one of the rappers now.
Yeah.
His name is Rod Wave, and first of all, he's a big boned fella like myself. And all of us, we be in our emotions and whatnot. Right. So I'll be in the car singing. And "Girl of My Dream" is it's one of my favorite songs.
I've actually seen you perform that before.
Like that girl of my dream. So I'll be in class, I start singing a song and I'll be like, man, I missed my opportunity for American Idol.
Right.
Oh man.
Let all the students know, hey, y'all gonna vote for me, man. Y'all gonna call in and vote for me. But listening to him, and then I love rock songs. My dad was a big, rock and roll guy.
Okay.
And then, me and my mom, we were actually talking this morning coming in, man, Tina Turner. We were talking about Tina Turner, man, and what's love got to do?
Hey,
got to do with it.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, so I listen to a little bit of everything, and my mom and dad, they exposed us to a lot.
You got a wide range of music preferences,
different genres.
Yeah, that's good.
So we got one more question for you. We always in the show whenever we have guests on. This show is called Locked In Sports, but locked in has a broad meaning. What is your definition of being locked in?
I think my definition of being locked in is being responsible. Like I said, I mentioned many times, I have my faith on this show, and I love to watch, Dr. Tony Evans here in Dallas. His son was actually our team chaplain for the Cowboys, Jonathan Evans, and he always used to tell a story about Adam and Eve. About Adam and Eve. And we all know, hey, Adam and Eve both, ate the apple.
Right.
But, God came and said in the garden, Adam, where are you?
Right.
So one of the things I take, as being locked in is being responsible as a man, because that's what God has put on me, regardless of feelings and emotion.
Right.
God has put that on me, and making sure that, when my wife or those little eyes are looking at me at the table, that I'm doing everything I can to provide and to get them ready to lead their own families.
Right.
So that's locked in for me.
I like that. I love that. That's a different answer. We ain't got that one yet.
Nah, that was different.
I would like that one.
Yes, well,
Joe, we appreciate you again for just coming on the show again, taking time out of your busy schedule.
Yes.
To come on this show with us on Locked In Sports Coaches Edition.
Right.
We wish you nothing but the best at your next endeavor. I know those kids and your staff are going to love you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. At least
I just, if you have anything that's coming up, definitely, let us know. We definitely want to be a part. Shout out to social media. So,
most definitely.
And all that. So, no, again, like Vel said, we definitely, thank you for doing this. Like you said, taking your time out to chat with us.
This
and
was fun.
It's my
get
pleasure.
into some things,
You got to have a little razzle dazzle. Well, Coach, too, I appreciate you. A lot of people don't see what, the high school coaches do and, the care that you take. I think that's something that I've learned as a high school coach is that all these kids want to see is somebody who cares. And Coach, you definitely do that for them. So
I appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.
Anytime I can help you out, it's a blessing that I can, you allow me to be a blessing. I appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
She aight. That's my dog for real.
Yes, sir.
So, no, I think we got us a show.
Yep.
It's been a wrap. Really great episode. Let's go ahead and get it out of here like this. It's the one and only Lise.
And it's your girl Vels, aka Velly Vel, if that's what you want to call me.
And together we are
Locked In Sports.
Peace.